Hello guys, how are you all doing? So finally we are here talking about the universal law of gravitation, the other great theory propounded by Isaac Newton apart from his three laws of motion. Now I'm sure you all know about that legendary story where an apple fell near young Newton that sparked the idea of gravitation in his mind. So I won't go into the details of that story. But in short, I can tell you that one day Newton was relaxing on a park bench next to an apple tree. Then an apple fell off the tree towards the ground. Now looking at the apple, Newton wondered, why did the apple fall only towards the ground in the downward direction? Why did the apple not go upwards or sideways? And then he immersed himself into deep research for a couple of years, and then out came the universal law of gravitation. So in this video, we'll essentially learn what the law of gravitation really is and how it applies in our daily lives. So without further ado, let's begin. So let me describe the law of gravitation to you in 2 points. The first point says that gravitational force is an attractive force that acts between any two objects possessing mass in this universe. And when I say any two objects, I mean you and I as well. Now the second point says that the strength of gravitational force is proportional to the product of the masses of the bodies involved and is inversely proportional to the square of distance between the bodies. Now here you can clearly see that the first point talks about the direction of the gravitational force, while the second point talks about its magnitude. To understand this better, consider two masses m1 and m2 which are separated by a distance r. Now according to the first point, gravitational force is a mutually attractive force. So this means the gravitational force on m1 actually acts towards m2 and the gravitational force on m2 acts towards m1. Now the second point says that the magnitude of gravitational force is directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of distance. So I can write F is proportional to m1 times m2, the direct proportionality, and F is also proportional to 1 by r square, the inverse proportionality. Now using the logic of proportion, I can combine these two expressions and write them together as F is proportional to m1 times m2 divided by r square. Now to remove the symbol of proportionality, we multiply the right hand side with a constant capital G, and our expression changes to F is equal to capital G times m1 m2 by r square. Now Newton called this capital G the universal constant of gravitation, or simply the gravitational constant. Now you must remember that we always represent gravitational constant using the capital G symbol and never the small g symbol. So never mistakenly write small g instead of capital G, because that will have a completely different meaning. Now another important fact about gravitational constant G is that it is a universal constant, which means no matter what happens in the universe, its value would never change. It will always be the same. So as long as we live in this universe, then no matter what changes the universe itself undergoes, the value of capital G will always stay the same. Now that's good news, I would say, because if the value of G was changing, then scientists would have had a hard time making use of this formula. But this brings me to another question. What is the exact value of capital G? Well, if you would have asked Isaac Newton about it, he wouldn't have been able to answer, because the exact value of G was calculated long after Newton's death by another scientist called Henry Cavendish in 1798. Cavendish gave the value of capital G as 6.67 times 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. So once the value of capital G was fixed and determined, then this formula of universal law of gravitation finally became usable. Great. Now before we go any further, let's take some time and understand the implications of this law. So a couple of minutes ago, I said that gravitational force acts between any two objects in the universe, and that includes you and I as well. So this means that a gravitational force is currently acting between you and the computer on which you are watching this video. So if that's the case, then why isn't the computer already flying off the table and hitting you? Well, let's do some back of the paper calculations and see why it's not possible. So assuming your mass to be 50 kilograms, your computer's mass to be 2 kilograms, and the separation between you and your computer to be 0.5 meters, I can easily calculate the value of gravitational force, which comes out to be F is equal to G times 50 times 2 divided by 0.5 square. Now, putting the value of G as 6.67 times 10 to the power minus 11 and simplifying this expression, I get the value of force acting as 2.668 times 10 to the power minus 8 newtons. So this is the amount of force with which you and your computer are attracting each other. Now this is a very small force, guys. In fact, this force is about 1,000 times weaker than the force a mosquito exerts when it sits on your shoulder. So such a meager force that can't even lift a mosquito certainly can't lift a computer off the table. That's why nothing really moves. But hey, what about really heavy objects like buildings and mountains? They must attract each other with strong gravitational forces, right? Well, it turns out no. The amount of gravitational force they exert on each other is still significantly less to make any visible movement happen. But things change when we consider celestial objects like the moon, the earth, and the sun. You see, these objects are indeed supermassive as compared to anything that we see around us, and therefore they apply sufficient gravitational forces on each other. So let's quickly flex our pens and try calculating the gravitational force of attraction between the moon and the earth. The data of their masses and their separation is given right here. Your time starts now. So, are you done? Well, let's go ahead and see the solution now. So here, the formula we have to use is gravitational force F is equal to G times mass of Earth times mass of Moon divided by separation between the Earth and the Moon whole squared. Now, once we put in all the known values and put the value of capital G as 6.67 times 10 to the power minus 11, we get this humongous fraction on the right hand side. Now, once we solve this fraction, the value of force of attraction between the Sun and the Moon comes out to be 1.98 times 10 to the power 20 newtons. Now that's a large force, guys. We literally have a couple of billion trillion newtons acting between the Moon and the Earth. This force is so large that it single-handedly holds an object as massive as the Moon within the Earth's influence. So Moon constantly rotates around the Earth. If this force was not strong, then Moon would have already gone away from the influence of the Earth. So the bottom line is that for the gravitational force to be anywhere near significant, we need objects as massive as the celestial bodies. Anything less than that won't do. Okay guys, now before I end this video, I have a thought lingering in my head that I want to share with you, because some of you might have the same thought. And that is about the formula of gravitational force, which is F is equal to G times m1 m2 by r square. Now just look at this formula, so neatly defined. How did Newton come up with this entire thing all by himself? You see, I understand that he was a very smart person, but it's still hard for me to imagine that he came up with all of this all by himself. For instance, how did he know that F here is proportional to 1 by r square and not 1 by r cube or 1 by r raised to power 4? So did some angel come and put it in Newton's head? Or was it that some other scientist inspired Newton by his works? Well, turns out it was the latter, because Newton's work was heavily inspired by the work of Johannes Kepler. You see, Kepler lived before Newton and spent a large part of his life observing planets and stars with his telescope in the night sky. After observing the movement of planets for a long time, Kepler was able to come up with his own 3 laws of planetary motion that essentially described how planets move in the outer space. Now, the work done by Kepler certainly helped Newton arrive at the correct formula of gravitational force. So in the next video, we'll see how we can infer the formula of gravitational force using Kepler's laws. Till then, let's summarize whatever we have learned so far. Gravitational force is an attractive force that acts between any two bodies in the universe possessing mass. Gravitational force is directly proportional to the product of masses of the bodies involved and is inversely proportional to the square of distance between them. The value of gravitational constant capital G is 6.67 times 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. This value was experimentally figured out by Cavendish in 1798. Gravitational forces become significant only when the objects are as heavy as the celestial bodies, like the moon, the earth, and the sun.